8 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios in MDI Road, this is the News Force, the headlines. Gambian Muslims and faithful across the world gear up for the feast of Eid al-Adha or Tobaske. Gambia Public Procurement Authority parts with $250,000 dalasi to help victims of disasters. The leader of Burkina Faso's short-lived coup agrees to hand back the reins of power to interim President Michel Kafando. And migrants and refugees continue to pour into Greece and Italy against the backdrop of seemingly endless bickering among European Union leaders over means of resolving the spiraling migrant crisis. These and other stories coming ahead this half hour. I am Momodin Jai. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Usman Baji, has sent a message to the President, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Al-Haji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jame Babili Mansa, and the text reads, "As we approach yet another feast of Eid al-Adha, commonly known as Tobaski, please allow me, Your Excellency, on behalf of Gambia Armed Forces, to convey our sincere prayers and best wishes on this very important occasion in the Muslim calendar. The celebration of this monumental occasion reminds us of the supreme sacrifice made by our forefather, Prophet Ibrahim, may Allah be pleased with him, which was anchored on faith, love, sacrifice, and devotion to Almighty Allah. Your Excellency continues to be an embodiment of these fundamental tenets that make the celebration of Tobaski unique. Tobaski is a period of sacrifice and jubilation. To this end, we would like to rejoice with you, your government, the Gambian people, and the entire Muslim Ummah on this special day. May Allah the Almighty continue to guard, and protect you and the entire Muslim fraternity as we pray and look forward to celebrating this great day in peace and harmony. Please accept the assurances of our unreserved loyalty to your leadership, the government, and people of our great country. May Allah bless and protect you always to further steer the affairs of our great nation to greater heights it ends." The President has again called for a change of attitude and urged Gambians to venture into animal husbandry as an economic activity to end the dependence on imported animals during festive periods when prices usually skyrocket beyond the reach of ordinary people. Professor Dr. Al-Haji Yahya AJJ Jame Babili Mansa was speaking on Tuesday after people seeking to buy sacrificial rams from him at unbeatable prices thronged July 22nd Square in Banjul. Momodu Jallo reports.
48 hours before the feast of Eid al-Adha known as Tobaski, the waiting is now over for many Muslims to get their sacrificial rams. A walk through the streets of the Greater Banjul area, one is wowed by the thousands of rams waiting for potential buyers, with many put off by the price, which often skyrockets during festive periods like this. Therefore, many who were waiting for the president got their chance to buy a ram at $5,000 and $7,000 respectively, depending on the size. This is now an annual occurrence when the president once again lavishes Gambians with his generosity. But with prices of animals soaring to unprecedented levels, Professor Jame warned that it is time Gambians change their attitudes and embrace animal husbandry as an economic venture, or at least rear their own sacrificial lamb.
Agriculture is not all about growing granules year in, year out. You make more money, in fact, just rearing sheep. And these people, they don't feed them. They just take them and graze them in the grazeland where there's less grass. We should be self-sufficient in livestock, especially with regards to small ruminants, in less than a year from now, because we have we have a lot of water. We have some of these ones, they will take for this without seeing even one single grain of grass. We have a lot of water, we have a lot of grass, especially you go to CRR. CRR and URR alone should be able to provide enough grassland for all these small ruminants. So we have to change our attitude. We have to really change our attitude. If we change our attitude, we'll make a lot of money.
For the president, Gambians have two choices to choose from: either rear their own animals or continue to buy at exorbitant prices from foreign dealers who import animals from Senegal, Mali, or Mauritania. By choosing the former, Professor Jame continued, it would enable Gambians to cut down prices, reap the economic benefits, and conserve foreign exchange, which would ultimately drive socio-economic development.
If you know that you are not a good farmer, at least get a pair of, two breeding pairs of maybe sheep or goat. You take care of them. If you have 2 rams or 3 rams, you sell them. Okay, some of these ones, they will tell you about 30,000, 25,000, something. Now, if you have 3 of that, you have more than what a farmer would get in a year. But we have to change attitude. Our attitude is the problem. Our worst enemy is our attitude. We want to start from this. Every building, we want to start a skyscraper from the roof. By the time you come down, you're already dead because you cannot start a building from the roof. Gambians, you give them 10,000, tell them go and start something in the earth. President Amul Lumajo, Madam Deaf business, 10,000. Senegal, you get your field far less than that. So then you want to change your attitude.
However, the president also sounded a word of caution, saying that subsidizing the cost of a ram annually would not continue forever, as the Gambia continues its march to economic superpower status, warning that those who expect free things are doomed to poverty, whilst those ready to venture into sustainable animal husbandry would reap the benefits. He finally assured those still intending to buy rams that he will supply more animals tomorrow at the July 22nd Square in Banjul. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
The clock is ticking and excitement is building, especially at places where last-minute shoppers frequent. GRTS's Khadija Tujalo was in Banjul and she now tells us what the atmosphere is like.
Down to the Feast of Tobaski has almost reached the tail end, and the hype generated by the preparations is also very high, as shoppers and bargain hunters do last-minute shopping. The range of items they are looking for is quite vast, for it includes shoes, jewelry, and ready-made clothes. Banjul's famous Albert Market is less busy compared to that of Serekunda. Those who are familiar with the way things were during Albert Market's heyday say the brisk nature of business used helped beef up the coffers of the city council. The reason advanced by watchers is the shifting demographics and decentralization. Some are making sales, but some traders are, as usual, coming up with the usual complaints. The extra expenses that come with the Feast of Tobaski often put those who are not well-to-do in a tight spot. But for this lady, it is a matter of keeping one's want and needs within the limits of your budget. Tailors are perhaps the most sought-after professionals around this time of the year, but virtue of the huge demand for clothes sewn locally. Some get their clothes on time, but others are disappointed at the 11th hour. This lady sitting beside the tailor said she should have received her clothes long since, but is now patiently waiting for the tailor to deliver. Tailors Ibrahim Abba and Yunusa Sise are thankful to NAWEC for the uninterrupted power supply. Khadija Tujalo, GRTS News.
Gambian pilgrims are among the 2 million others who gathered before dawn in the valley of Mount Arafat in Saudi Arabia for a day of prayer that marks the pinnacle of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. The pilgrims stood shoulder to shoulder for an emotional day of repentance and supplication. It was on this day, some 1,400 years ago, that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, delivered his last sermon from Mount Arafat during the Hajj, calling for equality and for Muslims to unite. We hope to bring you more in subsequent news bulletins. Vice President Her Excellency Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi on Wednesday took delivery of food items worth $250,000 from the Gambia Public Procurement Authority. The package received on behalf of the head of state is earmarked for disaster victims across the country. Aissatou Keita tells us more.
Staff Association today donated an assortment of food items worth $250,000 earmarked for disaster victims across the country. The items were presented by the association's members and executives to the Vice President and Minister for Women's Affairs, Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi, who received the donation on behalf of President Jammeh. These items worth $250,000 came as a major boost from GPPA, following recent disasters that occurred as a result of heavy rains across the country.
We are individuals working for government. We can be able to see certain areas where we can also put our resources together and intervene in such areas. As a staff association, we decided that the only area that we feel is also disturbing the population is these disasters, natural disasters. And you may know sometimes it is fascinating to know that disasters strike all over the world, but in different standards.
The donated items include 200 bags of rice, 100 bags of sugar, and 150 drums of oil. This initiative by GPPA Staff Association is anchored on the body's objective of reaching out to the needy, with particular focus on disaster victims, who are mainly women and children.
The issue of helping disaster victims should not be seen as a question of charity, but the utmost responsibility of all and sundry, especially those that can afford it. GPPA Staff Association, of course, have made a thorough observation over the years and realized there's a need for us to handle certain burdens as far as the government of the Gambia is concerned. And then when we made our findings, we realized there's a need for us to come on board to help disaster victims.
The Vice President and Minister for Women's Affairs commended GPPA Staff Association members for making disaster victims top on their philanthropic priorities, describing it to be part of the many moves aimed at complementing the efforts of the Gambian leader.
We want to thank you most profoundly for this thoughtful idea, because it's a very thoughtful idea. You can contribute in various ways, but helping those who are affected by disaster, I think, is a worthy cause. There's no doubt about that. Just like you've already reiterated, you looked at all the other issues of concern in this country and you said, let's help in this way. I want to tell you that you are just complimenting the efforts of His Excellency the President, Chef Professor Alhaji Dr. AJJ Jame Babil Mansa. As you know, he has always been generous. But what we cannot control is natural things, like natural disaster obviously would happen. So the people there also need help, but His Excellency has also been contributing to that. I'm sure you've witnessed over the years, it's been giving rice, oil, a lot of commodities, just like you are giving now, rice, oil, sugar, to the victims of disaster in this very premises here.
With the country experiencing heavy showers which have triggered floods, humanitarian efforts of this nature can help cater for a greater number of people in need of support. Aisa Tuketa, GRTS.
The Minister of Lands and Regional Government has expressed satisfaction with the implementation of the multi-million-dollar Community Infrastructure and Livelihood Improvement Project, dubbed SILIP. Minister Honorable Akibayo's verdict came at the end of his tour of SILIP project sites in the Greater Banjul area. Rohibite was embedded with the tour party, and this is her report.
Government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government, and implemented by GumWorks, the project is reported to have covered 200 community-driven projects, 24 cross-community projects, and several other livelihood projects, all geared towards improving the livelihood of Gambians. The minister's tour of the project sites was meant to gauge the work done so far. The minister in Ensuraj, first point of call was Barra Market New Complex, which cost $2.9 million, of which the SLIP project contributed 95%, while the Karawan Area Council contributed 5%.
SLIP project is like a community demand driven. So you have to work with the beneficiary for the beneficiary to identify on their own what their priority areas are. Unlike formally when you do like top-down implementation, you identify and you come and do it for the beneficiary without the beneficiary coming out with what is actually the required project. But like councils have their like strategic plans and they have priority projects, so we had to work with them, and through their guidance running through their strategic plans, they identify the top priority.
So it will reduce the burden people crossing to Banjul every time to go and get goods. If we have these big stores here, you see many businesses can have branches.
The new market complex, which consists of stores, is uploaded by many, as was highlighted by speakers like Alassana Keita, Director of Planning, Karawan Area Council, Sidi Toure, CEO, Karawan Area Council, the Alcalo of Barra, Babukar Fai, as well as women of the community. They, however, urged for more support for maintenance of the market rules. There, the Director General of GumWorks, under the guidance of the Minister of Lands and Regional Government, disclosed a proposed infrastructural development project secured by government worth of $13 million. As
the Honorable Minister said, under the leadership of His Excellency, the President, Chief Professor Alhaji Dr. Jame, and under the auspices of the Honorable Minister of Lands and Regional Government, the government of the Gambia has secured funding for a new rural infrastructure project, which is also going to be under the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government, which is worth $13 million, which again will be used for infrastructural development. So we really want to use this opportunity again to thank His Excellency the President and also the Honorable Minister of Lands and Rural Government for their foresight and their vision in bringing more infrastructure development in the Gambia. I think it's something that we all as Gambians can look forward to in the coming months for this new project.
The minister in delegation later headed for Amdalai, where a market and a garage are under construction worth $6.5 million. There, the SLEEP project was praised by people for being community-driven as they identified their projects according to their needs and implemented by them. The land where the garage and the stores for the market are being constructed, according to Njai Manka, the president of the Amdalai Transport Union, was acquired as their contribution towards the project. At Kanuma, Minister Bayo was welcomed by a large crowd from the community, where he handed over a multipurpose hall built for the community through the SLEEP project. The Deputy Governor of North Bank Region, Mustafa Saidi, along with the village VDC, Alcalos, and other community members all expressed delight for coming to their aid and hailed the government through His Excellency the President for the relentless support accorded to them. They, however, called for attitudinal change from the people in order to maintain the facility. At Benending, Minister Bayo handed over a borehole which was 95% funded by the SLEEP project and the 5% by council. Benending, as the members of the village, especially the women highlighted, grappled with water shortage, but thanks to SLEEP, it is now history. There, officials of the SLEEP project, the Director of GAMWorks, and the Minister of Lands and Regional Government all urged the community to strategize sustainable mechanisms of the borehole before officially handing it over to the beneficiary community. As the SLEEP project is community-driven, the people of Badibu Kintekunda did call for urgent need of a garden, and with the intervention of the project, they benefited with a 546 square meter plot, 2 wells, a toilet, and a resting area. This, as officials and the people of the community said, will help in contributing to the Vision 2016 food self-sufficiency drive. The first day of the tour ended at Kanchang Health Post. Kanchang being a hard-to-reach community, the need for a health post was the priority, and this was realized with the aid of SLEEP. But however, the community is calling for support to equip the place for it to start operation. The Lands and Regional Government Minister tour of SLEEP project sites continued across the provinces. Rohibite, GRTS.
We apologize, that was the wrong report. We'll bring you the right report in our subsequent news bulletins. We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this short break. Stay tuned.
School is your bank. Are you or your child guaranteed a future? You.
Me?
Yes, you. At Guaranteed Trust Bank, current account holders can benefit from GT Bank School Fee Advance Service. This facility is offered to individuals in the employment of public or reputable private organizations whose salary are paid at GT Bank. The bank pays your university or your child's school fees directly, deducting it from your monthly salary. You can be eligible for this facility after 3 months of consistent salary payment into your account. Leased properties are acceptable to the bank, which can be used in the absence of a guarantor. All facilities are on merit and availability.
Okay.
This facility is strictly for the payment of school fees, both local and abroad.
Wow! GT Bank has done it again.
Indeed, yes.
GT Bank paying your school fee and my university.
GT Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Welcome back. African leaders have brokered a peace deal in Burkina Faso. A rebel army general seized power last week, but the majority of the army remained loyal to the government. The coup leader has agreed to end the standoff, and the president says he is now back in charge. We have more in this DWTV report.
This is the man back in power in Burkina Faso. Michel Kafando has resumed his post as interim president. The tense standoff after the coup seems to have been resolved peacefully. In a short address, Kafando paid tribute to the 10 people who lost their lives in last week's upheavals. In the suffering, we fought together. In our freedom, we triumphed together. The country's army has signed a deal with the elite Presidential Guard, the unit which carried out the coup. The accord doesn't include the disbanding of the Guard, which was a key demand of the president. But the Guard will be confined to barracks. The army has also pledged to withdraw from the capital, Ouagadougou. The deal came after mediation by leaders of other West African nations. At an emergency summit in Nigeria, they pledged to oversee Kafando's return to power. Leaders hope Burkina Faso can move towards democracy and hold elections soon.
They have also invited the chairman of the authority in liaison with the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to initiate a political dialogue among all the stakeholders in Burkina Faso with a view to finding lasting solutions to the political crisis in the country.
But key issues remain to be resolved. Among them, whether those involved in the coup will be granted an amnesty, and whether their political allies will be allowed to stand in elections. Many in the country are strongly against that.
While EU leaders continue their discussions in Brussels, the wave of arrivals on Europe's southern shores continue unabated. Let's turn to DWTV for a look at the struggles that both Greece and Italy are facing.
Many risked their lives to make it here to Lesbos in Greece, and their numbers continue to climb and climb. In August, nearly 90,000, more than 10 times the number last August. EU states have criticized Greece for not stopping refugees from traveling north. Aid workers there say they need more help from the government, but it's already facing crisis after crisis. We have volunteers, but there's no organization. There are 5 charities here, but I feel like the state is taking advantage of human suffering and not really helping them. Italy is struggling to cope, though the country is now fielding far fewer arrivals than Greece. Italian authorities say they don't have the capacity to collect data and fingerprints from all the newcomers, a violation of EU rules. In late 2014, the bloc launched its Triton mission to rescue migrants, patrol waters, and catch people smugglers. Yesterday, we were occupied with 2 different rescue operations. In the first, we were directly involved, and in the second, we helped a merchant ship which had rescued migrants. Missions like these will be in focus as European leaders meet again to address the migration crisis. Better controls and registration at Europe's southern borders, just one item on a long to-do list.
Pope Francis has been welcomed at the White House as his state visit to the United States of America gets underway. He is expected to draw huge crowds and still some controversy. As the leader of the world's Catholic touches on delicate political issues, the pontiff was hosted by President Barack Obama at his official residence, the White House. President Obama praised the work of Pope Francis in easing U.S. relations with Cuba and hailed him as beacon of peace and humility. For his part, Pope Francis praised Obama's efforts on climate change. Here is what some of the issues they had to say.
You call on all of us, Catholic and non-Catholic alike, to put the least of these at the center of our concerns. You remind us that in the eyes of God, our measure as individuals and our measure as a society is not determined by wealth or power or station or celebrity, but by how well we hew to Scripture's call to lift up the poor and the marginalized.
I find it encouraging that you are proposing an initiative for reducing air pollution. Accepting the urgency, it seems clear to me also that climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation.
We take our second break now. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Former Gambia U17 coach Fred Osam Dudu is in the country for a week-long high-level coaching training course. It's been a decade since the Ghanaian-born coach led the Gambia to its fourth Continental Championship trophy. The likable Ghanaian sat down with Grts's Babakar Senghor for a chat on his successful stint as coach of that glorious U17 side of 2005.
His reign as Gambia under-17 football team coach was brief, but his light shone brighter than most who followed him. And for years his shadow and imprint remains firmly on Gambian football. He was the first true foreign import to make a mark on Gambian football, and he did it in style and in front of a passionate home support. It has been a decade since Ghanaian coach Osam Dudu led the Gambia under-17 team to Continental Championship, the first in the history of the country. He led the dream team to an unlikely championship trophy and cemented his legendary status in youth development on the continent, having won previous African championship with his native Ghana. 10 years on, Osam returned to the country he once called home, not as a coach, but to help the country's elite coaches journey through their careers with one last chance to learn from one of the continent's finest and most respected tacticians.
In fact, CAF in 2007, they elected me as the best youth coach for the African. So I was in Barcelona, even Coach Bono came to lecture both white and black coaches in the youth football. And then I was responsible also for the African team, the junior team. Even though we didn't get the right, they didn't give out the visa for the boys to come. But it was a very good thing. The concentration also was on these lectures, youth football.
For a man who helped mold a generation of the Gambia's top young players who later graduated from the glorious under-17 side to storm the 2007 Africa Youth Championship in Congo, while many made the grades to become full internationals, one may be tempted to think the veteran Ghanaian will be a satisfied man.
When they left for Europe, some were getting in contact with me. By this time, probably they have changed places. So, but the idea is, it was really good. They are now in Europe, and the FA should build up, the senior team through this. And I learned even they are all in the senior team. So just the teams or the players behind the youth team, you have to start to build up the junior team. And then if you build up, they will, when you push them through. Under 17, they go to under 20, Olympic team, and then the most senior team.
By winning the Gambia's first continental championship, the Ghanaian made history and brought joy and happiness to the people of the Gambia. He went on to lead the team on a memorable maiden campaign in the 2005 under-17 World Cup in Peru. A star-studded Brazil side was vanquished 3-1 in the opening game. It was one of the highlights of a truly remarkable career for a man who spent much of his lifetime making a name for himself in the dugout. Was this his most satisfying win as Gambia coach?
Well, I feel I'm a coach, and before I came here, I had won so many trophies. For the Black Stars, several trophies. For under 21st to win gold to the World Cup. And so when I was coming, I had it in mind that I have to come and assist like they demanded so that the development will come. So I think I was really glad when I handled the team and they went to World Cup. Unfortunately, the champions, we beat them 3-1 at the open match, which was a history. So in that case, it means your players here, the boys here, they are intelligent. Then you have the coaches who are also intelligent. So
was this his most satisfying win as Gambia coach? Osam will return to the Gambia from the Peru tournament a national hero. His exploits with the under-17 side and his work in laying the foundation of a strong squad was the stuff of legend. The likable Ghanaian will soon leave his post to return to his native Ghana. He will not return to Banjul for a number of years, but few will forget about his role in transforming the fortunes of Gambian football. For Grts Sport, this is Babukar Senghor.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. Gambian Muslims and the faithful across the world are gearing up for the feast of Eid al-Adha or Tobaski. Gambia Public Procurement Authority has parted with $250,000 Dalasi to help victims of disasters. The leader of Burkina Faso's short-lived coup has agreed to hand back the reins of power to interim President Michel Kafando. And migrants and refugees are continuing to pour into Greece and Italy against the backdrop of seemingly endless bickering among European Union leaders over means of resolving the spiraling migrant crisis. Well, that was all in this edition of the news at 8. Join us at 10 o'clock again for more news.